What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you 3 recent returns that I got back in the mail. And to further ado, why don't we just jump right into this and get started. Okay, this first one is postmarked from Dallas, Texas, and it is from former NBA/college coach Del Harris on 1, 2, 3, and 4. Del Harris was an NBA coach for many years. He actually compiled a winning percentage record of 5.549 over his coaching career. He coached from 1979-80 all the way up until 1998-1999, which is when he was let go from the Los Angeles Lakers. Between coaching stints, he spent his career as assistant coaches on many teams. He was an assistant coach on the Houston Rockets, which he later became the head coach. After he was let go from the Houston Rockets, he became an assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks, which eventually led him to being the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. After he was let go by the Milwaukee Bucks, he was hired to work for the Los Angeles Lakers. That is where he found his most success as a head coach. He was the head coach of the Lakers with a very young Kobe Bryant. So that was when Bryant was first into the league, when Bryant was a rookie. And despite going 61-21 in 1997 and 98, finishing first in the Western Conference, eventually losing in the Western Conference Finals, he was let go in 1998-99 after going 6-6 for the Los Angeles Lakers. So he was at 500. And he was let go. Well, come to find out, it would be Phil Jackson that would be his replacement. And Phil Jackson eventually would get Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, among others, to bring the championship back to Los Angeles under Phil Jackson, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal. So unfortunately, despite having awesome records with the Los Angeles Lakers, he was let go for a new administration and Phil Jackson, another coaching legend. So what happened to Mr. Harris after he left the Lakers? After being let go by the Lakers, he relocated to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and became an assistant coach with the Dallas Mavericks from 2000 to 2007. This is where he would spend most of his time as an assistant. After the 2007 season, he went to the Chicago Bulls for a season. Then he finished the 2009 and 2010 season as the New Jersey Nets assistant coach. After the 2009-2010 season, he moved back to Dallas and became the head coach of the Dallas, the Texas Legends, which is the NBA D-League or G-League affiliate of the Dallas Mavericks. Still to this day, in the same capacity, Mr. Harris works for the Texas Legends. He is in an advisory front office role, I believe. Vice president of the Texas Legends. So I'm not really sure what that means and what that entails. Starting with the 2017-2018 season, he also was serving as pregame and postgame analyst for the Dallas Mavericks. So if you guys watch Dallas Mavericks, games, on cable or streaming or whatever, most likely you'll probably see Mr. Harris doing a post and pregame analysis, according to this. Harris came from a small town in Indiana. He played his college basketball at Milligan College, which I'm not familiar at all with that college. At Milligan, he then moved to Earlham College in his first coaching job in Richmond, Indiana, for 9 seasons before he joined the professional ranks, in the Utah Stars, actually, in the ABA. So Mr. Harris has been around a long time when it comes to coaching in basketball. I would call him a lifetime basketball individual, meaning he has devoted his entire life to the game of basketball, which is awesome. So thank you, Mr. Harris. Very, very happy to add those to my collection. I really, really appreciate that. All right, this next individual, I think I know who this is. It is indeed. And I sent these out before the announcement was made, which is kind of cool. So this is actually technically a Hall of Fame success, and that is from El Cid himself. Probably the greatest player to come out of the University of Arkansas. Mr. Sidney Moncrief on 3 of 3. And unfortunately that one didn't show up really well. It's kind of a dark card, but it is signed. The whiter cards actually show so much better, but this one is signed indeed. And that is his actual last year playing. So Sidney Moncrief, it was just announced a little while back as of filming this that he is going to be inducted in 2019 to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. He was inducted last year into the College Basketball Hall of Fame, rightfully so. So let me tell you a little bit about who Sidney Moncrief is. So Sidney Moncrief played for the University of Arkansas from 1975 to 1979, leading the team to the 1978 Final Four against Notre Dame. He's a 6'3" shooting guard, scorer. He also played a little bit of point guard, not so much as he did shooting guard, because he was the go-to star, so to speak, on his Milwaukee Bucks teams. He played from the Milwaukee Bucks from 1979 to 1990. He was drafted 5th overall in the 1979 draft out of the University of Arkansas. He made All-Star team 5 times throughout his career. He was an All-NBA first team selection, second team selection 4 times, a 2-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Defensive first team player. So a very, very good defender. His number 4 is retired by the Milwaukee Bucks. Over his career in the NBA, he averaged 15.6 points per game and about 3.6 assists per game. Again, that's a little bit with his point guard abilities. He did coach post-career a little bit near his hometown, the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. He was born in, where was he born? I want to say he was born in, he was born in Little Rock as well. So he went back home and he got to coach in his hometown where he went to high school, all of that. He also coached in Fort Worth, Texas for a season with the Fort Worth Flyers, which I don't think exist anymore. One of those teams that no longer is around. And overall, a very overshadowed player throughout his entire career because of where he played. He played for the Milwaukee Bucks. And, his top seasons, for 4 straight years, he averaged over 20 points a game, with his highest, in 82-83, averaging 22.5 a game. After the 88-89 season, he decided to retire from the Milwaukee Bucks. However, after sitting out 1 season, he decided to make another go at it and came back as an Atlanta Hawk. And again, if that was signed in like a fat Sharpie or even a black Sharpie or, anything other than that thin Sharpie that he used, it would be a much nicer autograph and show up a lot better. But, it is what it is, unfortunately. It would have been better, if he would have signed in a different marker. But I'm very happy to get these back, especially since Mr. Moncrief is now a basketball Hall of Famer in both the college ranks and in the pro ranks. So very, very happy to add these to my collection. Thank you, Mr. Moncrief. I'm very happy to get these. I'm not sure if he still signs through the mail now that he's a Hall of Famer. I sent these out before it was announced that he was going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So, not sure if he still is going to sign through the mail or not. Alright, so this next one is indeed another NBA success. And I'm super, super pumped to get this one back, because this is an individual that actually played his college basketball and his high school basketball in my home state. I actually have been to his hometown where he went to high school. And who I am talking about is Mr. former Philadelphia 76er, all-time great, Doug Collins on 1, 2 from his coaching days, and a 3rd from his coaching days. So Doug Collins, NBA Hall of Famer. So who is Doug Collins? If you're an NBA fan, Doug Collins, like Del Harris, is an NBA lifer. Doug Collins was one of those people that was a star athlete in high school. He was a star athlete in college. He actually became the number 1 overall pick in the 1973 draft by the Philadelphia 76ers. He was part of the Philadelphia 76ers teams for many, many years. He played his entire career with the Sixers from 1973 to 1981. He was a 4-time NBA All-Star. After his playing career, he did a number of things. We're going to touch on all those things here in a second, but I'm going to talk more about his playing career. After he was drafted, his final year in college, he was actually part of the 1972 U.S. Olympic team that lost to the Germans in Germany. After that happened, obviously Team USA, had always dominated the sport, but that was eventually the formulation of the 92 Dream Team, especially after the 1988 Olympics, where the Team USA also lost. So, after his playing career, he averaged, let's see how many points he averaged for his career. 6'6" shooting guard. He was a very good shooter, by the way. Very good, mid-range guy. Really didn't have a three-pointer at the time of his era. I mean, I can't remember what year the three-point line came in existence, but if the three-point line was there, he probably would have had a few more points, let's put it that way. He averaged 17.9 points per game. He was elected to the Hall of Fame, as I mentioned. Very often overlooked as one of the great players of his era. He was a head coach of the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was a rookie. So he was Michael Jordan's rookie coach. After he spent time with the Bulls, he was let go from the Bulls and he became the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. He was with the Pistons for a few seasons, before eventually being let go. Between his stints, after being let go in 1998, he became an analyst on TNT or NBA on NBC, which is now gone. He worked for about 3 years, doing the broadcasting thing before he decided to become a head coach again of the Washington Wizards. The Wizards were not too successful under his tenure, and after the 02-03 season, he was let go. He went back to broadcasting at that point, and in 2010, he decided to take over as the head coach of his former team that he played for, the Sixers. This was a very difficult era in the Sixers, history. He resigned, from the Sixers in 2013, saying that he wanted to spend more time with his family. However, he did stay on board with the Sixers as a advisor. He spent some time with the Sixers. I don't know exactly when he left the Sixers, but He is no longer working for the Sixers, and he currently is a senior advisor of basketball operations with the Chicago Bulls, the first team that he coached. So he's a very, very busy guy. I sent these care of his home address. I want to say somewhere in Arizona or something along those lines. I do not know if he will continue to sign through that address, because that was before he was announced as the Bulls senior advisor. So he very possibly may have relocated. So if you're watching this video, I would not recommend sending to that home address. It's at your own risk. I'm not aware of whether or not he signs care of the Bulls. So it's kind of at your own risk if you want to choose to track down Mr. Collins. I just think I happened to get him between jobs, before he may be relocated. So in closing, I want to thank Mr. Collins for signing. Again, I grew up in his hometown state. Maybe that had a little bit to do with why he signed for me. I wrote in my letter that, I grew up just about an hour and a half from where he went to high school, and had actually went to a couple college basketball games at Illinois State, not when he played, but, in the last decade or so. So I thought maybe that had something to do with maybe why he signed for me. He may sign for you, he may not. I mean, sometimes with Hall of Famers, it's tough to get them. I am very fortunate and very, very happy to get Mr. Collins. I try to collect autographs from, everybody from my home state of Illinois, the best that I can, and these will forever be a sentimental, addition to my collection. So thank you, Mr. Collins. Thank you very much, Mr. Moncrief. And of course, thank you, Mr. Harris. All of you are excellent, excellent basketball men. I look up to each and every one of you, throughout my life, whether you were coaching or playing. I didn't really get to see, Doug Collins play. El Cid would have been towards the end of his career by my earliest memories. But thank you all. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.